Hey kids, it's Old Man shouting at clouds, and now with others too. Chatting about the CFL is what they're going to do. Some have no contacts and others have no clues. Everyone will tell us all their quirky football views. Hear what Old Man and others know. It's the CFL Outsiders Show.
Hey, GT. What are we going to do this week?
Same thing we do every week, old man. Take over the CFL.
Hey, kids. Welcome back to another episode of the CFL Outsiders. I remain, as always, your 100% impartial, completely unbiased, and wishing we could see some good football host, Old Man Shouting at Clouds. Joining me this week, as usual, is MJ. How's the week been, MJ?
Yeah, it's good. I'm off the bye and ready to dive right in.
Good stuff. Well, it's great to have you back. We had Oz Davis step in last week as a guest panelist to get through not being just my boring old monotone. So thanks to Oz for that. Hopefully everyone enjoyed it. It was unique. I'd heard Oz for years, but never met him. And I was mentioned to you in the pre-show talk here. You gave me a nice off-air, a nice little lesson in Hungary and a lot of the stuff, including I found out that the darling of the CFL, Xander Horvath, I got the whole, what do they call, I can't even think of the word history of his name. Anyway, yes, apparently Horvath is not just a surname, it's actually a designation of a people. If you are a Croatian living in Hungary, you're a Horvath. According to Oz, at least. I'm taking that as told.
Well, I was worried you guys were going to pull a Shamar Bridges on me and I'm going to back on the active roster and then get cut. So
yeah,
here I am.
Could have happened, but no, your performance has been too good. Too good. We were waiting to get you back in. So here we go. Not a lot of news this week. The Red Blacks continue their purge. They got rid of their president last week and will be announcing a new president sometime between now and infinity. And this week, after saying that there would be no more large moves after getting rid of the president, they got rid of their VP of football operations, Sean Burke, who was the de facto GM. And then they turned around and brought in Jim Popp as a football consultant. Any thoughts on those moves, MJ?
Well, the president, this makes sense because he was also the president of the 67s. And most CFL teams do not have a president running two organizations and clubs. Sean Burke, he's got to wear a lot of this. I will give him a pass on Mazzoli because what happened to Mazzoli was not on him. And honestly, I think that it's too bad because I think he could have just really been something great for the Red Blacks. But everything else is kind of on Sean. And Jim Popp is the man, myth, legend, right? Like, I don't hate this. It sounds like he's just temporary until he's going to supervise them hiring a president and GM and help Brian with some roster stuff. And that makes sense to me. You can't pull somebody in that's younger with not a lot of experience in a situation like this. I feel like you just it's kind of like, I think the Stampeders did this with Wally Bono. Or maybe it was the Elks. Somebody did. But it's a similar situation where I think you just need someone who's been in the industry for a million years. Okay, let's just all take a deep breath. Let's just figure this out and make a path to move forward instead of just rushing to hire somebody new and then just more, not to say that somebody new would make more mistakes, but I think you just need some calmness and some leadership right now.
Yes, I agree with that. I think it was the Elks that brought Wally Bono in to consult in building their new team. And that's how this has been presented with Pop. He'll be there to help them with some personnel decisions, but basically to advise on how they rebuild their leadership structure, which I think is a good idea. But I think it's also worth noting, and I'm going by my memory here, so I could be off on a little bit of it. But I think the last 3 or 4 years that Pop was in the league, he wasn't leading any winning teams. I think the most success he had later on was that year in Toronto where they went 9-9 and then managed to pull off the playoffs. So it's similar to what Toronto did with Huffnagel
Isn't Barker
and
back
Tim
there
Barker.
too?
Yeah,
Like
so it's
they got the old guys there too.
Yeah, but at some point, how much do you keep retreading? The Red Blacks have re-established that they're committed to Ryan Dinwiddie, and I wish them luck. It's a broken organization, and hopefully they can figure out something to turn it around. Their fans definitely deserve better.
100%.
For 7 minutes on the weekend, I thought, hey, maybe the Red Blacks are a football team.
Yeah, that first 7 minutes of that first quarter was glorious.
I was sitting here thinking everybody gave me so much hassle for being adventurous on my power ranking last week, and for 7 minutes I was thinking somebody's gonna be redempted, but no. Oh well. We'll talk about more of that later when we get to power rankings. You also wanted us to cover off, this is a bit more of a serious topic, but it's something that I think we need to keep in mind. There's been a recent study come out into the effects of concussions, head injuries, and CTE.
Right. It came out today in the BMJ Journal. There was a study done on NFL players who had passed away between 2016 and 2021, whose families had donated their brains to CTE study. And what they found, this is not good news. It's not good news. You're going to have to hear it anyway. That 1 in 4, they figure based on what they're finding. I mean, I'm not going to go into all the findings, like the studies out there. There's lots of news articles about it. But what they figured was that 1 in 4 former NFL players has evidence of CTE at their time of death who died between 2016 and 2021. The conservative estimate is about 25% of NFL players have CTE. The high estimate is in the 90s percentile. They said 6 in 10 of the NFL brain donors with CTE met criteria for dementia, and like 9 in 10 of them had CTE. And that's tough to hear.
It is.
It's tough to hear. So, I mean, it's not just football. Like, there's a lot of talk in soccer about heading the ball, and that's a high CT risk as well. I mean, hockey has this issue, rugby. But I was thinking about this 2 weeks ago. I got to actually watch a game with my dad before my sister and I went on our trip. I got to watch the Lions and Calgary game with my dad and my mom. And Vernon Adams was laying on the ground unconscious. Well, they pan out, Mills is being taken off with a concussion.
Yeah.
And sometimes I sit and I think to myself, what are we even doing here? I don't know. I really have a tough time sometimes because I love football. I love it. But sometimes I wonder if I am contributing to this problem by paying money to watch this happen. I don't know. Sports is going to have to figure something else. Something out, because this just can't keep happening. I thought about like Arlen Bruce and all the crap he got for trying to like sue the league for his CTE, and then everyone like laughed him off, and here we are.
Yes. And it is difficult to hear. I mean, I don't know how you play football without some concussions. I don't think that you can get away from it. So if the game's going to be there, it's going to be part of it. There's also, I think that, I don't know where the numbers are. Is it 25? Is it 90%? It could be 90%. I'm just, in the interest of fairness, not defending the sport at all, but in the interest of fairness, we tend to see the brains donated of people that their family feels like there was something wrong with them. And so that can skew it to a higher number. But even if it's 10%, nobody should have to go through that for playing a sport. And frankly, I think you can play football without the numbers in that range. Probably like you can play soccer and hockey and get the numbers down too. But you can't do it through rule changes. You've got to do it through an attitude change, or else, in my opinion on this, give a lot more discretion to the referees on penalizing and being serious about furthering on those penalties. Because one of the things that I see is we keep talking player safety, and we keep talking about how that's the most important thing out there. And yet we continually get these situations where quarterbacks run, they slide and take a late hit, and everybody goes, oh, well, they didn't slide in time. How's the defender supposed to stop himself? And yet somehow every one of those defenders that can't redirect their body at all still manages to slam a shoulder or an elbow or a helmet into the quarterback's head. And the same thing with tackles coming across people, ear holing still happens. As long as we allow that to to go on. And frankly, I have little doubt that there's a lot of coaches out there that still teach that as a defensive style. If you can knock a player out of the game, you're helping your team. You know, you don't want to injure him, but if you can put him out for the game, we're not that long, maybe 10, 15 years removed from when we had the scandal down in the NFL with the Saints and their DC paying a bounty on injuring star players. So it's part of the culture, and they can either get smart and change it, or the game will eventually just wear itself out. People, I don't know, I've lost faith in good people the way the world's gone the last 2-3 years, but I honestly believe people won't keep putting up forever with this where human beings are paying far too high a toll just to entertain us. And yes, they get a lot of money for it. So, you know, put it back to a referee's judgment call, and don't say, you know, it's a hit to the head that does this, or it's a hit to, you know, whatever, or it's an intentional thing. Just put a rule in there that any official can say, I think someone attempted a high head hit there. It's a penalty. It's not reviewable, and I don't have to justify it. It's just there. And fans will scream and yell, but if you start doing that and you do it enough, then defenses will stop teaching their players to hit that way. Because if you're continually taking 15-yard penalties and as a star defensive player or any defensive player, when you do something stupid like that, it's a 15-yarder and you're gone for the rest of the game, and maybe another one if we're serious about it. That will change stuff. Because in my opinion, the only way you get away from targeting the head is make it too costly to target the head. And we haven't done that yet maybe not we, but the sports, the NFL, the CFL, the UFL haven't done that yet.
You think about how hockey used to be. It was basically a boxing match on ice, and it's not so much anymore. It's moved away from that. And I mean, they used to not wear helmets either. So, I mean, sports need to evolve and change. I think maybe, in my opinion, I wonder if in 20 years from, like even 10 years from now, you can't hit the quarterback.
Yeah. Or
like you can't touch the quarterback. Or maybe the quarterback's not allowed to cross the line of scrimmage anymore.
Yeah. Maybe something like that. Maybe it becomes something like there is a sensor on the quarterback's chest that you have to slap and he's down for a sack.
But
something
I mean, we come to watch quarterbacks throw.
Yes.
I'm not there to watch quarterbacks unconscious on the field. That's not.
No. Or any player.
And no player needs to be injured for entertainment. I don't know. There's got to be a better way. I mean, it's getting better, but is there room for improvement? It's true. I was talking to my husband about this, and I was like, oh, this is like, you know, there's a lot of a next man up mentality. And if you won't do it, then someone else will. Yeah. So there's 5 guys that want your job. Don't you dare complain about working conditions or player safety, because someone else will do. The Players Association does have some onus on this. They're going to have to be really serious, and ownership needs to be more serious. But until the NFL really changes things, I don't see a lot changing in the UFL or at CFL, to be quite honest.
No, not unless there's a huge lawsuit that somehow comes across. I don't get it, and frankly, I don't have the answers, because even the refs don't seem to have this criteria of player safety firm in their minds. I mean, it's become almost a rote sort of thing, where we saw Reggie Stubblefield on at least one occasion reach out and put his hand on the back of a player's jersey without grasping it. Didn't pull him backwards, didn't do anything, but his hand slapped the back of the jersey, and it was a 15-yard horse collar tackle where there was no more intent or a chance to injure than anything else. And then a few plays later, we've got a Hamilton receiver coming across the middle defenseless, catches the ball without jumping, as the rule says, and a Toronto defender comes down and takes him out at the ankles, which is exactly the description that was put in a year and a half, 2 years ago to prevent, that's not a head injury, but it prevents those serious knee injuries. And they just let it go. Because, well, I guess you can't call everything. But if you don't call everything, people get hurt.
I think part of the reason, too, is that CFL officials' friends are not full-time employees.
Yeah, that's true.
This is their side gig. So if you want to take it seriously, you need to be officiating needs to be taken more seriously.
Well, yeah, I'll give you that it's harder when it is a side hustle, but it's also they take their direction from the league on what's going to be emphasized, what's going to be called, and what's not going to be called. And if the league came out and said that going forward, we are serious on player safety, we are going to call all of these things no tolerance, they would call it. But the league is afraid to do that because, the game will get too many penalties and it'll get too boring. Well, for a while.
Players learn pretty fast.
They do. Anyway, hopefully there's some answer.
Yeah. Sorry for bringing the party down, friends.
Well, it's reality and it gets in
reality.
Our life, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But, there may still be some improvements in the technology in what they can do with the helmets. But even that, there's a lot of different ways for a concussion to happen, and the helmet cannot protect from all of them. But let's go on to something a little more upbeat or happy story, which you also mentioned you kind of wanted us to cover the fact that apparently not everybody gets knocked out and injured early because...
I also want to talk about 3 specific people that are just having a little renaissance in the CFL this year, and as a surprise to some of us, really. The first one, I'll go from 3 to 1. Number 3, Malden.
Yes.
Malden signed a one-day contract with the Ottawa Redblacks earlier this year to retire. Then he came out of retirement and signed with the BC Lions. He had 2 sacks against the Riders. He, in 4 games, has 6 tackles, 2 sacks. Just picking up where he left off. He is 33 years old. Second is Willie Jefferson, who is 35 years old. He's played 10 games. He has 12 tackles, and I couldn't find his knockdown stats, but I assume they're almost the same as his sacks. And then our number one retiree. Oh my goodness. Sean Lemon is 38 years old. He's played 4 games. He has 9 tackles, 6 sacks, and 1 forced fumble.
Yeah. Lemon drops are back in the CFL.
Please send your workout routine to us.
Downright amazing. Yeah.
What? But I just thought, you know what? These 3 men are just proven that age is just a number.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And they talk about quarterbacks lasting a long time, but it's kind of surprising how many O&D linemen play well into their mid and late 30s and can play it well. And yeah, I mean, it was 3 years ago that Lemon signed mid-season with Montreal, and everybody said, I don't know if he'll be much impact. He's getting kind of old.
Someone pointed out that the trick for him is to not go to training camp.
Yeah, smart veteran move.
Yeah, I'm just wait till training camp's over and then sign with the team and just go.
Yeah, there was a day when an awful lot of vets would get a turf toe on the first day of training camp and then suddenly recover going into the actual season. Congratulations to all 3 of them. They are all playing very well. I was a little surprised that Lemon's doing as well as he is, but I was very impressed by Malden. From what we saw of him, the last that he was with Ottawa and then the bid in Calgary last year, it looked like there was just whatever he'd had was gone. But I don't know. I don't think he played in the AFL this year, so maybe he just needed, 9-10 months to get his body right again. As 1 game is a small sample, but he looked damn good.
He looked good.
Yes. He's on the same team as Matthew Betts, and they were talking a lot more about Malden than Betts.
They were.
Anyway, so that's good news. You can survive with this game.
I wish one of these guys played on my team.
Well, what else did we have? Oh, attendance. So we just quickly cover it off. It was actually a very good week. The low was Toronto at almost 19,000.
It was pouring
18,842,
rain.
which was, I mean, yes, it was a Tiger Cast. It was a rivalry game, but that was also in a you could die monsoon, rainstorm, whatever. And that many people were, well, at least bought tickets. I don't know how many of them were actually out there. It looked in the game like there was a lot there, but that was the low number. BC was over 30. That rider bounce again. But, and then Edmonton and Montreal were both 22.5 or in that range. And what I found really impressive is of our 12 weeks, this was the 4th highest week that we had in attendance in the league. but it's the first time that that's a high number like that has happened where there were no home games in Winnipeg or Saskatchewan. The previous high weeks all had either Winnipeg and Saskatchewan at home, or there was one of them had Winnipeg at home and Saskatchewan, that game in Edmonton where they opened the upper deck and brought in over 30. So if we can exclude Winnipeg and Saskatchewan home games and still average, what did I say it was, 23,500, I think that's good. Bodes well for the league. Anyway, what else? Oh, signings. We did actually have some this week. We were joking last week about the fact that we had a practice roster guy as our only signing name. But this week there are a couple that you recognize. Just both got announced today. Lawrence Wood III, who was a returner and I think did some receiving for Hamilton, is signed with BC. And they are short returner right now, so that makes sense.
Dennis McKnight's probably was chomping to get him over there.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
If nothing else, someone to lead the wind sprints.
Yeah.
You all keep up with Lawrence or you're doing extras.
That's right.
And the Riders signed Shamar Bridges. So I wonder what that means, because Keyshawn got bumped a couple of times during that game. Johnny Johnson, the third, or I think it was, or is it Jalen? I forget. There's so many Johnsons on that team. Anyway, fumbled one and came up looking like he might be a bit hurt. So it'll be interesting to see if Bridges is an insurance policy or if he's in there somewhere as early as this week, because they are struggling at receiver.
He was the one that he came off the injury practice roster and activated to the roster, and then the Ticats released him, and I was really upset that day. Was that yesterday that happened? I was like, what, why? I know he didn't do great last year, but like...
Hey, had a good rookie season, and frankly, as a Rider fan, I'll take him.
Yeah. Well, you're lucky. I think both these former Ticats are going to do great on their new teams.
Yep. Yes, you've said before, the secret to a Ticat success is go play for someone else.
It's 100%.
All right. I don't even know if I even really want to talk about the games. And I mean, yeah, the Saskatchewan loss was disappointing, and for you, the Hamilton one was. And I was thinking, you and I should be feeling pretty much exactly the same way right now, because to my mind, both of those games, the teams we cheered for, I don't know if you can say should have won, but easily could have won those games if they just stopped shooting themselves in the damn foot. It was
penalties were an issue.
Yes. Penalties were a definite issue for both of them. We started with Ottawa. Ottawa went to Montreal.
Where penalties were an issue.
Yes, but for Montreal, and it didn't seem to matter. Montreal had what? They were 7 penalties for 90 yards.
Mostly from Kennedy, I believe.
Yes. And I think Ottawa had like 3 for 20 yards or something. So, but it didn't help. And as I joked earlier, 7 minutes of great football from Ottawa, then a minute of taking 4 tries to get it in from the 1 yard line and needing a penalty to help them. But they got up and got a touchdown.
I did it.
Then, it was pretty much field goals from there on. Once Montreal woke up, they ran over them. They passed, they ran, they did whatever they needed to. Ento made a nice pick 6. It was just one of those games.
Montreal went 2 and out after that first drive by Ottawa, and I was like, okay. Like, we might have a little game brewing here, and then no.
Like I said, for a brief moment, I thought maybe, but no, I don't know. It ended up the kind of game that the fourth quarter was MBT against Dustin Crum, and CFL was playing greatest catches in CFL history just to try and keep people watching the game. Anything else that we should talk about? Anything else worth mentioning in there?
Yeah, Jake Mayer shaved his beard, I think, to try and change the vibe. It did not work. The Alouettes, their defense had just a complete meltdown in penalties, and they're lucky they were playing the Red Blacks. Because if they had played like that against any other team this year, they would have probably been in trouble. Kennedy, speaking of helmets and stuff, he was ripping people's helmets off, he was ripping Pimple's helmets off. I'm like, what? Why, buddy? You don't need to do that. It's Ottawa, first of all. Cool your jets. You're not playing the Elks, or it was weird. It had a weird vibe. And then the Ottawa would do some good things, or they would get a break because Montreal would mess up and like take a stupid penalty. And then they would try a deep shot and it would go bad. And I'm like, why? You're just ruining things for yourself. And I'm like, I get like maybe once trying that, but to continually try to get Mayer to like toss it downfield was really strange, considering he does not have the arm for it really. So I wasn't quite sure what they were trying to do, but yeah. I will say that the Ottawa defense kept playing, even when it was really bad. They were out there hustling hard. I give props to them. And Glenn, I need to listen to Glenn twice this weekend. Glenn told us all that Alexander was better than Anthony Calvillo, and I'm not sure why he would say things like that.
Yes. An awfully quick pronouncement when Mr. Alexander, who's looking amazing, has played, 20 games? All told? And Mr. Calvillo has 80,000 passing yards. So.
Yeah, like, no one can even catch him, realistically.
No.
So just be quiet, Glenn.
Yeah. Talk to me in 20 years.
Right?
If Alexander has 75,000 yards and has, stayed with the Owls that whole time and everything, then maybe.
Has actually won them some Grey Cups.
Yeah.
And
A little premature. Yeah. So Glenn seems to be coasting a lot this year as in his color commentary. I don't know. He can be very good, but anyway, I went through that last week. I will say that I should have had it in my notes. I don't. There was an extremely nice pass breakup by one of the Ottawa defenders, or the score would have been 1 touchdown higher, because they had Philpott open down the rail with a pass that Alexander wasn't going to miss, and whoever the defender was got closed real quick and got just a fingernail on it to tip it out of bounds. So they were working hard, the defense.
They were working hard. That defense was hustling. Like, they were not giving up. So if only the offense would work.
My premise last week was be scared of the Red Blacks, because a desperate team, you don't know what they're going to do. Well, the problem is they're being desperate, but in stupid ways. A desperate team maybe does something like that first touchdown when you get it. Maybe you go for an onside kick right then that they're not expecting.
They had Montreal rattled. They were a little rattled.
Be ready to do that. Be smart about what to put in some plays that just look absolutely stupid. Put in a play where you've got, your center and your 2 guards and your tackles are way off to one side, still on the line, but ready to lead a quick screen, just to confuse the defenses. Stuff like that you can't do consistently, but you sprinkle them in a game. If you're desperate, it can go somewhere. They're not doing that. Dinwiddie's doing stuff like you said, calling deep passes when it shouldn't be, or Mayer's taking the deep option when he shouldn't. Plus, they keep going for the friggin' 2-point converts.
It's silly because they do it so early.
Yeah, that's my point. They
just take the sure points.
They get a touchdown by talent. Finally, although it took 4 tries. Later in the game, Montreal takes an unnecessary roughness and a misconduct to give them 25 yards, and then they take a PI in the end zone to give them the ball on the 1-yard line. At that point, if I remember right, the score is 32-16. You kick the convert, it's 32-17. You're down by 15 points. At some point, score another touchdown or 2 touchdowns. You're going to eventually have to try for a 2-point convert. But you don't do it there when you kill all your momentum. Yeah. Because they haven't made one yet this season, as far as I know. But no, at that point, down by 16 points, instead of closing it to 15, he goes for the 2-point after they're lucky to get a touchdown. It doesn't work. And again, their offense has no confidence, and that becomes their total points for the game, the 16.
Jim Pop's going to fix all this.
Yes, a lot of disappointing coaching going on in the league this week again. I don't know. The one thing I will say that normally I hate in-booth interviews, and I'm not a fan of sideline interviews in-game. Do them at halftime. Do them something like that. But if you're going to do one, they did at least a nice one with Sarah Parker and Marc-Antoine Dequoy from the men's and women's flag football teams that both punched their tickets to the Olympics. I thought both those players handled themselves very well in the interview. I enjoyed seeing and hearing that, and I liked seeing the fact that they acknowledged the better performance was from the women's team, and it wasn't an afterthought after what the men had done. So,
yes.
All right. I got nothing else.
Yeah.
Shall we move on to our next disappointment in coaching?
Yeah, next disappointing game.
Next poorly coached game, yes. Because you look behind me here and you'll see all the rider paraphernalia. Or if you're a fan of the show for a while, you know I bleed green. But I'm going to be channeling Winnipeg Blue Bomber fans right now and speaking for you. I feel so bad for you. Tommy friggin' Condell. First half of the game, they play extremely well. Brady gets 13 carries, 2 passes, 100 total yards or something like that. The second half of the game, they end up starting to fall behind. Brady, from what I checking the line score, it looked to me Brady got 3 touches in the second half. And you come down to a point where you get the ball back at the Edmonton 50 with over 2 minutes left in the game. You're down by 3 points. A touchdown wins it. A field goal ties it. But there's also time on the clock. Brady's averaging 7.5 friggin' yards a carry. Plus, he's got the screenplays. Plus, that's when he shines. You might stop Brady for 2 yards early in the game or mid-game where you get a good play. In that situation, he knows and he's proven he'll put the team on his back and he'll find a way to get you those yards. It might be ugly as hell, but he'll get you first down. And if you finally get stopped down around the 20 and there's 30 seconds left, you kick the field goal and okay, good, we're going into overtime. Condell comes out and tries to pass 3 times. He ends up with, a sack and what should have been a sack. Clark's got back across the line, so at least that burnt a little bit of clock there. And then a bad pass. They kicked the field goal with 1.5 minutes left, and oh, look, surprise, Edmonton can march down and win it easy. What is wrong with the offensive play calling in Winnipeg? They're doing the first half right. This is 3 or 4 games in a row. They've used them in the first half, but then it's like, Condell, I better outthink the defense. They know I'm going to run.
He thinks he's very clever. I think he thinks he's very clever. TSN showed Brady sitting on the bench a lot.
Mm-hmm.
They panned in tight on Brady sitting, not even standing on the sideline, like sitting on the bench a lot. And then, as you know, the offense goes through Tim White this season. We were all told that, not Brady.
Yes.
Yeah, this is what you get.
Yeah, I am disgusted for Winnipeg fans.
Yeah, no, it's stupid for Winnipeg fans. I don't know. Again, you can run back tape from like every episode this year where I'm like, this is a stupid hire. Don't do it. It's a mistake. Yeah. And then what's happened? It's a stupid mistake. And then, as he's saying today, like a touchdown's always the goal. And I'm like, oh, okay, Tommy Condell. They were up 16-0.
Yes. I had here that Ottawa played 8 minutes of football. Winnipeg played 20 minutes of football. Just not enough for the full game.
The Elks, so the Elks were, like, they have not had a bye yet.
Yeah.
They've played 10 games straight. They're tired. They're coming up to a bye. They don't even want to be there. They don't want to play. They all have plane tickets booked. Like, they're out. You should be able to beat them when they were this checked out. But credit to the Elks. They woke up, and this is a team that would not have finished this game last year, years previous. They hunkered down and got that last second field goal that I thought was going wide. I for sure thought that was going wide. I was like, oh my God, but they did it. Yeah. One funny thing, like there's not a lot to talk about on this game anyway, but Reed got an interception for the Elks and he spiked the ball and it was still live and his teammates had to like try and corral it. And I was like, oh, and then they showed him like all of them like yipping at him. And I was like, oh, buddy, how embarrassing for you. You just like blanked.
Yes, but it looked that way. But to his credit, he was down by contact. They recovered it in the end zone. That would have meant the ball would have come out to whatever it is, the 20, the 30 right now or whatever. It was on the 5 where he intercepted it. And when I looked at it, it looked like he was probably not down, but as he was making the interception, there was a swipe at his ankle that counted him down by contact.
But yeah, everyone was just panicking. Like,
yes.
No, buddy, no, you don't spike the ball.
Exactly.
And then,
I can't remember who it was. A few years back. Anyway, the receiver that had the ball and was running into the end zone and tossed it over his shoulder on the 1 yard line.
Yeah, or Rankin, who like did that last year in the
Yeah.
end zone, right? Like, just play to the whistle, boys.
Yeah.
Then Luke Wilson like had some really nice things to say about Brendan O'Leary-Orange and his blocking. And I was like, oh, look at that. I'm happy O'Leary-Orange is doing well with this new team. And it was really nice. You know what? That's the thing about Luke Wilson. I will say I enjoy his commentary because I like when I get things like that pointed out to me that I would not necessarily notice at the time. And yeah, very cool. So yeah, Elks are on the bye. They are just a machine. And whoa, Winnipeg, that's a mess.
Yes. Yeah, Luke has done much better than I thought he would. I do actually enjoy hearing him. But like I said, yeah, to me, Winnipeg's culture has always been bully ball. And that's not a unique thought to me. That's what everyone tells you. But I talked 2 weeks ago about the Lombardi comment. Everybody knows where it's going. The question is, can they stop it? And that's what Condell has to take as an attitude in Winnipeg with Brady. And he doesn't. It's, if they know where it's going, I better do something else. I don't know. Disappointed.
Brady's going to be, I don't know. He's yipping a little in the media too, right? So we'll see. We'll see how that's going because there's a lot of infighting happening, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure there is. I haven't seen as much of it, but I don't doubt it there. And I mean, the thing is, I know I'm a Saskatchewan fan and Winnipeg's supposed to be my hated rival. I said last week, I'm actually grew up in Manitoba. Winnipeg's my second favorite team. They're my backup team. And I loved the kind of ball that they were playing, and to see them get away from it is, and I don't know what's happened to their defense, unfortunately.
Was Willie Jefferson playing?
He was, and he didn't play terrible, but it just seems like, Jordan Younger's been the DC there for a few years, so the scheme shouldn't have changed. Is it personnel? I wonder about, frankly, if it's mental, because Winnipeg has won the games, is a good defense, and they know that their offense will come out and control the ball and take time off the clock and score enough points to win if the defense holds a team to X number of points, 15, 20, whatever. They may not blow out the world, but they've always been good enough to do that. And this year, the defense probably just doesn't have that confidence. We can play our tails off and still end up Edmonton, 22 points.
They need to channel whatever the vibe is for the Red Blacks defense. Whatever the Red Blacks defense is doing, you also must do, because their offense doesn't even exist and they're still like hustling.
Yeah, exactly. How many games this year have we seen where 22 points wins the game? It's the same thing I said with Hamilton and Saskatchewan last week.
Yeah.
It was the defense that won it. And Winnipeg's defense had a chance to win it, but they need some help.
Mike O'Shea signed a 3-year extension earlier this year. I'm wondering, has he lost the room, do you think?
I don't know. It could be that, or it could be that it's just too much for him to overcome all the rest of the stuff that's going on in there. You need a certain amount of success to hold that kind of a room together. And yes, they're 5-5, but they could be 8-5 with some intelligent offense. And frankly, they've been lucky in a couple of games, and they could be 3-8.
Well, you're in a West with a lot of teams like BC's trucking now. You're watch out.
Yeah. And they were also talking about the fact that Castile owns the record for the most field goals over 50 yards.
Well, you shouldn't own that. That's a bad stat, actually. That means your offense isn't working.
That's great for him. It doesn't necessarily say a lot about your team over the last 2 or 3 years.
And every time I see that stat, I'm like, so you couldn't get it past the 50. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
All right then.
It's like when you see a team where a defensive halfback is leading the team in tackles. Well, great for that player.
However, everyone else is napping.
All right.
Okay, that's enough beating up on Winnipeg. I feel bad
let's
for
go
them.
beat up on our teams now.
Yeah.
Hamilton 20 at Toronto 39. And like I said, both of these games, I didn't have a lot to say on it other than the teams that lost easily could have won if they just got out of their own way. And it wasn't even necessarily the number of penalties. They were bad enough, but it was the timing of them. anytime, especially this game, anytime they were setting out to get a drive started, they'd take something that would put them back 5 or 10 yards. Keandre Smith took 3 penalties that were either offside or illegal procedure because he was on the line as a receiver and left too early. 3 of them in the game that stopped 3 drives. You're in a game, didn't play the most fantastic game, but he looked good. He certainly played good enough to win. He made some very nice passes. They passed for 356 yards. Toronto only had 289, but then Toronto also ran over them. I'll let you commiserate for a little while.
If Keandre Smith was not getting an offside call, the offensive line was getting a procedure call. Anytime they had something cooking, anytime. They're like 5 yards back every time, like reset, try to scramble. Then Trey's got to stretch it out. Their snapper was, like the bobbling snaps too. Like their place kicker, they were showing a close up of every time that place kicker, like the placeholder got the ball, it was like bobbling everywhere. And I'm like, what is happening? And the defense was, I was assured that this was an elite defense. Number 1 defense in the league. They played terrible. Everyone played terrible. There was not a good player on that field. Nobody was having a good game. The Argos are playing in the rain just fine. It's not the rain because Chad's was out there passing and making plays. But yeah, I think you just, every time, like, poor Trey, you finally have a play you think's going to work and that you got the defense figured out. Oh, procedure. Yeah. Keandre's offside. And I'm pretty sure Keandre was offside more than he got called because he was, I don't know what was happening.
Oh, yeah.
But they were up at halftime. Like, they were up. They were winning. And they just collapsed.
Yes, I gave them credit for 16 minutes and 25 seconds of real football late in the first half and into the third quarter.
Polk was not playing.
Yeah.
But Chad only threw 1 interception. I think that's a record for him this year. I don't understand. It was Sean Lemon, 2 sacks, 1 forced fumble. And that forced fumble, like, Trey didn't even see that coming. That one's not on him. That's not his fault. Like, Reed just got run over.
Yes, exactly. Maybe you can say, you've got to have the clock in your head and he should have known the timing, but I don't think you can blame him on that. The key to this game, other than the Hamilton penalties, if Hamilton had played penalty free, it would have been a close game. If Hamilton had played penalty free and had any kind of contain on their run defense, they would have won easily. I don't know what Monson was running. I couldn't figure out why there was no contain. The run plays that worked at least a half a dozen times, maybe more, was running back presses the line, jump cuts outside the tackle, and there's nobody there. And he's gone for 15, 20 yards over and over and over again. Can you not adjust to that? Can you not figure out, we need to do something a little bit different here?
Well, and then you know what? Like, I saw Osai, who was one of our top D-line guys. He got blocked. Smith was blocking him. The running back. Like, just like having his way. I was like, this is ridiculous. This team. Now, there's some drama because Scott Milanovic wasn't at practice for a personal matter. But I say all the other coaches are there.
Yeah.
If Bob Dice and company cannot handle this for 1 game, and you've played the Argos already.
Yeah.
They played them already. Like, this is not a surprise. I just don't know what happened. It's like they just imploded.
And it wasn't like the offense wasn't working.
No, but it just wasn't working where it counted.
Scott Milanovic not being there shouldn't have impacted the special teams. It shouldn't have impacted the defense. And besides the coaches, these are professional players.
Yeah.
Are you telling me that your coach goes away for a week and you go on vacation and stop caring?
Like, you were like at a kegger while your parents were away? Like, what happened?
I don't know. I guess I could have gone back. I didn't do this much research, but I'm willing to bet that if I went back and looked at the Toronto stats, I know Mills had a couple of runs of about 60 or 70 yards that he broke off, one against the Riders, and I can't remember who the other one was early in the game. You take those 2 runs out of it, and I don't think Toronto has run for 40 yards in a game yet. They ran for 145 yards on Hamilton, with Winton McManus in there and Reggie Stubblefield in there. And, just where was that coming from? And
Terrible
Oh,
effort.
well.
It was my birthday, and they played like this.
Happy birthday.
On my birthday, this is what happened. How, like, can you imagine the horror of my life?
Yes. Yes. Well, you have the silver lining that at least the podcast team won. So,
Well, yes, well, lucky us.
yes. Okay. No more of that autopsy. It's there's enough depressing there. So then we go to the next game that looked like it should have been a fairly good game. The Riders got Emless back. Hey, they're going to have some. That also, I know I'm not supposed to talk fantasy, but that probably cost me my fantasy game because I had Deshaun Mims in fantasy and they didn't start him. They didn't even have him on the roster. So I had to quickly find someone else in that game I could afford who turned out to be Karen Passant, who was on the roster but didn't do anything. Anyway, regardless of that, I've been clocking this. I said Ottawa played 8 minutes of good football, and maybe 7. Winnipeg played 20 minutes of good football, not enough to win. Hamilton had 16 and 25, and I gave Saskatchewan 11 minutes and 40 seconds in that fourth quarter, where they actually woke up and started doing stuff. But other than that, same thing. 7 penalties for 72 yards, which took off the board 2 scored touchdowns and an interception. Other than that, passing, Saskatchewan had 356 yards, BC had 355. Rushing, Saskatchewan had 69, BC had 76. And total yards, it was Saskatchewan 410 and BC 414. So should have been a very close game. But same as Hamilton, every time that and worse than that, because it wasn't just getting drives stalled. Every time there was a good play, there was a stupid penalty that negated it.
Hands to the face.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. PI. No, it wasn't PI. I forget what it was that took away the interception. But then that no yards. I'll give them some for that because, I mean, they were trying to get back and slipped out of it, and that was a definite penalty. But again, just play smarter. And the last thing I'll say is he got himself a very nice interception late in the game, Jackson Ford did. But other than that, it was probably the worst game at safety you will see in a long, long, long time.
Horvath hurtled over top of him.
Yes. Yes.
And they showed it 100 times, and then they kept showing Ford looking sad and are upset.
He is in shade, yes.
Oh, it was shady. It was shady. Yeah. He had a terrible game.
Oh, yeah. He came flying down on Berryhill trying to make a big hit that instead of wrapping up, he got bounced off and it went for a big gain. And
How
then
did Berryhill even, I could not believe that catch.
Yes, fantastic catch. But
fantastic.
Shouldn't have been any more yards from there on.
Nope.
And
finish your tackles.
Yes. And then the next series, he comes out and lays a huge hit on somebody 3 steps after they've already not caught the ball. Just stupid stuff.
Stupid stuff. Yeah.
Not tickling from BC, though. BC played well.
Yeah, well, this was the watermelon smash game at BC Place, so they had a bunch of watermelons you could smash before the game, and I think that's kind of fun.
Yes.
You know, you're going to get Rider fans at your stadium anyway. You might as well make a little game of it, and that was pretty cool. I enjoyed that. Yeah, BC defense started bad because there'd be 3 players in the vicinity, and then a Rider would just catch the ball with 3 players standing around him, just looking. Yeah. And I was like, what are you doing? Stop playing zone. They got it together. They got it together. I mean, Saskatchewan helped them, but they did get it together. Yeah, as the Berryhill caught that in traffic, and it was such a bang play, and that I thought he was going to die. I thought for sure that suicide, those passes over I was like, oh no, he caught it right. Emilus, however, had a hospital pass thrown to him at the end of the game, and I'm not quite sure why you would do that to him in the end of the fourth. You are going to lose this game. You send a player one of your top receivers who just came back off injury over the middle to get crushed. And now he's out with a hip. What? Why?
Yeah.
That was a stupid play call. A dangerous, stupid play call. That was.
And they need him because the other point of it is that offense has been out of sync for about 3 or 4 weeks now. But I said this last week against Hamilton, and it was the same thing this week. Harris was intercepted twice, and they were both the direct result of a miscommunication between him and the receiver. on the first one that was deep to the end zone, and I think it was Emilus, but mind you, Emilus was back in the first time in 5 weeks. Emilus read it as a break to the outside against the DB. Harris read it as a break to the inside and threw the ball where 2 BC Lions were the only ones within 5 yards of it. That ball was already in the air before the break was made, so lack of communication. And the same thing on the second interception was Jate, their rookie, who's looking not bad. He had a slant that he had to get to a certain spot, and he took too deep on the slant and let it get jumped. So is that not necessarily the receiver's fault, but that's the fact that the receiver and Harris are seeing things differently. And that offense runs when they see it right. That's why those tight window throws work. That's why it looks like it can just go like a hot knife through butter against a defense. But as soon as you start losing that, you get a game like this.
Harris looked so flustered. I don't think I've ever seen him so flustered. He was screaming into his helmet. And he was like having a meltdown on the sidelines, and then TSN just found him and then just showed him the rest of the game. They just kept watching him having this like complete and utter like temper tantrum. But you know, there are 3 sacks, 2 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles.
Yeah, exactly.
Bad day at the office, and he was so rattled.
Well, and the one wasn't even a forced fumble. The DB just took the ball right out of Johnson's hand.
Just ripped it out of his hand, ripped it out of his hands.
I'll take that. Yeah.
I feel like they should have just taken him out.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
When he was that upset and like yelling and screaming at people and like freaking out, like just sit him down.
Yeah. At that point, put Cohen in. I agree. Although I will say he did have amazing chemistry with their new star tight end, Daniel Johnson.
Yes.
The offensive lineman who lined up
that
wide.
Was fun. Best receiver
got
of the
himself
night.
a pass in the flat and rambled for 17 yards, including hurdling over a tackle.
Well, you saw Findlay, like when the replay, he was like pointing at him.
Yeah.
But then, like, you got to make a decision whether you go to that or you think the receiver's going down deep. So, I mean, you just got to make a choice, right?
Yeah.
But that was fun. I enjoy when things like that happen.
I'm an old lineman. I love it when I see one of us fat guys get the ball. It's
and he like knocked a guy over and like ran.
Exactly. Stiff-armed the guy, did a little bit of a hop over it and all. And that sparked them for a while. But then they just went back to making the same stupid mistakes.
Yeah, they made stupid mistakes. Harris should have taken out, and then he threw that suicide pass to Emilus. And what?
Yes.
No one's having fun.
No, not at all. It does give me an opportunity to tell one of my favorite Corey Mace stories. And I don't know, I may have said this on the show before. I saw an interview with him back when he played, and they lined him up at tight end on a short yardage play, and he broke out into the end zone, and they threw the pass to him. And he got it. And they asked him about it, not right after the game, but the following week, I think it was in practice. They asked him, how did it feel to get that catch and that? And he said, it was the most amazing thing. I was out there. I went out, made my cut to the outside. I saw the ball coming. It was over the wrong shoulder. I had to turn in midair and do a twisting grab, a thing of beauty, and pulled it down. And I was on top of the world. And then I went and watched the film, and it was just another fat guy catching a football, which is amazing honesty.
Yeah.
The only other highlight, maybe, at least fun moment of this game was when Saskatchewan did a dump pass to Thomas Bertrand Houdon, who took it up the middle for 10 yards, got absolutely smoked, and the ball popped back 5 yards into the hands of Logan Furlan, the Saskatchewan center, who bobbled it around and fell on it for the 10 yards. So you got to say they got one break in that game.
Yeah. I just want to talk BC Lions for, I will say they played well. They played well. Horvath looked good. Katoy played a great game, and his mom was there, and she had never seen him play at BC Place before. So that was really nice he gave her the game, like when he got a touchdown, he ran over and gave it to her. That was really nice. He kind of reminds me of Nick Lewis a little bit. Like, he's going to run you over.
Yes. He's taller and not quite as thick as Nick, but
he's got the Nick Lewis, the DBs are scared of him vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nathan's looking like he's they've won 4 in a row. Don't look now.
Yeah.
Don't look now.
Well, they look good, but again, I didn't think they looked fantastic. I do think they're coming along and they're going to be a team to beat, but I do honestly believe that it was the ineptitude of the Riders team, I don't think you saw a kind of game that the Riders were capable of. Just like, frankly, didn't think you saw when they beat Winnipeg with their backup quarterback that Winnipeg played the kind of game they were capable of. So yeah, they might do well. They got Ottawa coming up this week, so they'll get another win there. I expect they'll probably end up with about 10 wins, but I think there is still a bit of an element of smoke and mirrors in there that will come out as the last half of the season plays on. My opinion. I don't have the faith in Benavides' defense that other people seem to be developing. And I think the offense is good, but I don't think that they're the offense people were expecting that's going to put up, high 30s, low 40s in points every game. I think that the 30 points in this one was pretty indicative of what we'll see from the Lions going through. And can their defense hold other teams under that?
Yeah, winning's a mentality.
It is that too. And I may be here in 6-7 weeks eating humble pie, saying, "Wow, look at that second half."
You play the teams in the schedule, right?
Yeah,
that's not your fault that the Riders played so terrible. That's who you get to play. So,
like I said, this is an opinion. I certainly don't mean to say
friends,
that I know.
I'm here to give props to the Lions, so don't you worry.
Okay, we'll have balance in our reporting. No, frankly, to be quite honest, there were only two teams that I was impressed with this weekend that I thought I would say there's a team that you know is going to win an awful lot of games. And I thought it was fairly obvious that they're the two that are sitting at the top of the standings.
Yeah.
If anyone out there isn't sure what I mean by that, it is Montreal and Edmonton, of course. And even Edmonton, with, like you said, their slow start and going into a bye after a long stretch, they still played like a professional football team.
Like to dedicate this win to the CFL schedule makers.
Yeah, exactly. All righty. Well, those are the games for this week. Oh, we're only an hour and a bit in. This is going quicker with only two of us. People will be so disappointed they don't get to hear my voice on and on and on.
Those games were just so inspiring to talk about.
That's true. A better week, we might have spent another 20 minutes on every game. But as I think it was Oz last week when I asked him at the end of one game, do we have anything more? And his answer was, I'm surprised we got that much out of it. So, all right. So power rankings, who's doing them? Are you going to take them over? Okay.
Friends. I would like to apologize on behalf of the podcast for what you witnessed last week. That will not happen again.
Okay, hit us with them.
Okay, number 1, Elks. Hot off the bye. If you can win heading into the bye after 10 weeks and pull it out, you're number 1. Number 2, Alouettes. Too many penalties on defense. Otherwise, you probably would have been number 1, but you got to clean it up. 3, BC Lions on a roll. 4 in a row. The Riders are number 4. Get it together, boys. Otherwise you're dropping down further. 5 is the Argos because they put it all together this weekend. All the pieces fit and they looked good. 6 is the Stampeders. I know GT would not like to mess around with people who are on the bye, so I think I tried to leave them where they were. This is really contingent if Mills and VA are back in the lineup.
And they're saying positive trending right now. That's the only answer. Yeah.
7 is the Bombers with an identity crisis incoming. The Ticats are 8 because that was a terrible performance by everyone, and you are no closer to getting Bo back, and terrible all around. 9 is the Ottawa Redblacks, and I just have a note saying sad trombones.
Yes. Well, thank you for that. I'll tell you a story about a friend of mine. Got nothing to do with this podcast or anything that's happened in the last 2 weeks or anything like that. But friend I haven't seen in probably 30 years was actually my boss, and we got to be good friends, fella named Boyd. And he told me about having a part-time job when he was in school. And he worked at a jewelry store. And the jewelry store also sold fine china. Part of the job was having to unpack the fine china, which was very expensive, and everybody hated doing it because there was so much pressure not to get a nick on it or anything at all. So Boyd said when it was his turn to unpack the fine china, the first thing he did was break a plate. and he never had to do the job again. So for whatever it's worth.
I believe the term is weaponized incompetence.
Yes, exactly. I like that. I haven't heard that before. Moving on from there, the injury reports before we pick the games. This I'm having to do a bit on the fly because when I did my notes earlier, some of these weren't in. No one's marked as out or available at Montreal. Stevie Scott III and Braden Knoll on the O-line did not participate. And again, I don't think either of those is a big loss. The way Montreal's playing,
Justin Lawrence is back practicing in full for the Alouettes, so that's good news for them on the O-line.
Yes, I see that.
Yeah.
That is good news. Thank you. I was just looking at the did not participate. You're right. Like I said, doing a bit on the fly here now.
So
Winnipeg,
good news for them.
Mike O'Shea special. Everybody's hurt. Brady did not participate. Eli from the O-line did not participate. Nick Dembski did not participate. Diedrich Nichols did not participate. Hamilton, there's a few names limited, including Charbel de Beer, who I think has been probably one of their best defensive linemen the last 2 or 3 games, has played extremely well. Frost is still limited, and who else do they have here? Tyler Tugnowski and Tyson Middlemost, both backup receivers, did not participate. Myron Mitchell and Keandre Smith were both limited.
Who needs Shamar Bridges now, guys?
Yeah. Saskatchewan does, apparently. Calgary, Vernon Adams was limited, and I saw an article today saying that he's trending positive. They're more encouraged that they'll have Mills back, but they hope to have Vernon back too. And Mills was a full participant. Reggie Bagleton was a full participant, but I don't know that that means anything. He has been and then been back off and everything anyway. Other than that, Divine Scott in the defensive backfield was limited, and their short yardage guy, Quincy Vaughn, was limited with a hamstring. Yes. The Argonauts, Nick Arbuckle was limited. So, don't know.
How?
Must one of those short yardage things, I guess, or I don't know, maybe he stubbed his toe on the bench. I'm not sure. Ralph Hawley and Ryan Hunter were both limited. So was Chad Kelly with a toe injury. And the did not participate included Cameron Judge and Brandon Kemp, who went down on the O-line this week. And that's all we've got. Nobody else has got any reports in at this point.
Well, I think the Lions and Redblacks are the Sunday game, so they're probably not even practicing yet.
I think it's Friday, 2 Saturday games, and a Sunday this week, is it not? And then we get into the Labor Day and all that excitement. So, anything to say, or should we just jump into our game predictions? And I understand MJ2 has sent in hers to be the tiebreaker.
Yes. With sassy comments.
Oh, good. I like that. I liked your comments from last week. Oh, and we should let people know that we're still working on negotiations. The agents are involved at this point, but we're hoping that we're going to have MJ2 as a more regular contributor post-Labor Day, when the season really matters.
She reiterated to me that the season does not start till Labor Day. So.
Of course not.
Yeah.
Even next year when there's only 2 games after Labor Day.
No, that's even not true. Next year. What?
I'm being snarky. So
even when Grey Cup is on Labor Day.
Yes. Then the season will start on Labor Day.
Then the season will start.
But we have the games, and we start with Montreal coming into the very difficult to beat Winnipeg Blue Bombers in whatever it is now. It's the toolbox, isn't it? The Princess Auto Stadium, I think still.
Auto.
Yeah. Why don't we start with MJ2's prediction and comment?
She says the Alouettes, no one has an answer for this team, and Tim White offense definitely isn't it.
Well said. I don't think I have anything to add. I'll just ditto for me.
Check.
Yes. Okay. Hamilton at Calgary. Now, this one, we don't know if VA is going to be in or not, which makes the picking a little bit more difficult, but we got to jump and hope for it. So, Hamilton, your team, I'll let you say first.
I saw pictures of VA on his vacation, and he looked okay, but does that mean he can play football? They're coming off the bye, so they should be well rested. Ticats, that was so bad. And you know what, I'm going to pick Ticats, because if I knew 100% that VA and Mills were ready to go, I'd be probably picking Calgary, but I think Hamilton's probably able to put together a team a little bit better.
Well, Mills is listed as fully participating at practice. So I think it's relatively safe to guess he's going to be in. And from what they said, too, the article I saw said they were very confident. VA is more of a question mark.
Yeah, and if he's not playing, Love's not going to do it. I think the Ticats defense has been running suicides all week after that performance.
Yes. Well, the thing is, to me, I want to pick Hamilton, but they came back and they played a reasonable second half against the Riders with Trey and played well enough to win. But the game before that, they should have had a good chance to win and shot themselves in the foot. I think it was the BC game, shot themselves in the foot a lot with just dumb mistakes and dumb penalties, and it wasn't to do with the quarterback. I saw that again this week. Do I have any faith that even if Love is in for Calgary, that Hamilton can clean up those mistakes? And until I see it happen, I can't buy it. So it's a tough one, but I'm going to go Calgary. And what's our tiebreaker?
Yeah, well, let me just think about this for a little minute more because...
Okay, have I talked you into something?
Well, I was in my mind, I was like, right, they should have used a 2-quarterback system and they didn't. No, I'm going to keep it Ticats. My sister says Ticats unless VA and Mills are healthy. How are they going to score points against that Ticat defense?
Well,
so this all hinges on if VA plays or not.
In case MJ2 is listening, allow me to answer your question. How are they going to score points against that Hamilton defense? Apparently, they're going to run Mill close to the line and have him do a jump cut outside and go 70 yards for a touchdown. 8 or 9
indeed.
times.
Yes, indeed. That's the first time they've really played badly, though.
Yes, I know. And I'm being very facetious. I think they'll clean that up, but I'm going
to stay Ticats. They're going to clean up that defense. Hopefully, I would like them to maybe start Frost and bring Trey in off the bench, but we'll see if Frost is not injured.
Through the entire Riders game, bleeding green the way that I do, and that through the entire Riders game, I still maybe screamed at the TV twice. In that Tiger Cat game, I was throwing my puppy's stuffed toys at the screen. You friggin' idiots, just stop that run! just like it.
Scott's back now, it'll be fine.
Yeah, being beat the same way over and over and over again drives me crazy. You're a coach, adjust. All right, sorry.
Okay.
The fans don't know this. Our viewers don't know this. I had a rant planned at the start of the show, and then I had to back off because my facts weren't quite right. It was about Tommy Condell, but it could have been about this too. I'm in a ranting mood. Okay, Toronto at Saskatchewan. I'm going to say Saskatchewan with absolutely no faith whatsoever.
Perfect.
Toronto beat them earlier in the season in Saskatchewan, could easily do the same thing. Mind you, again, like I said, when I was thinking the Hamilton-Calgary game, well, Calgary walked all over Hamilton in Hamilton. Calgary put up 54 points, 56 points, whatever, against Toronto in Calgary, and then went and lost to them. So who knows what'll happen with the return game. And this is kind of the same. I think that the defenses have figured out Chad enough. He's not getting all of the deep balls, which is how they were winning all the games. And I do think that, unless it turns out that Keyshawn Johnson and Emilus are both back out and our starting lineup has Shamir Bridges and Bill Duncan Busby and then a bunch of other people no one's ever heard of, maybe. But I'm going to pick Saskatchewan just because they should win it if they just play what they're capable of. Let's go with the MJ2s first, and then we'll let you do if there's a tiebreaker needed.
She picked Riders saying Argos suck and Harris has fewer turnovers.
Yes. Although, again, I don't know that we'll see fewer of them until they get their timing issues worked out. But, so that's 2 for the Riders. Are you making it unanimous, or?
No, I unfortunately think that the Argos have somehow figured something out. And I think Chad Kelly might make Ford's life a misery.
Well, that's entirely possible. And I'd like to see the loyalty of you sticking with our podcast team.
It gives me no joy.
Yeah.
It gives me no joy. This is not fun for me. Yeah, and I mean, he did that without his top receiver. I guess the best defense in the league. So I don't know. And if Harris is the same issues with his receivers, against the BC defense, I think he's going to be in trouble.
That's the thing, is that BC defense, especially their pass defense, isn't that good, but they couldn't do anything against it. So I would not be at all surprised to see them lose this one, but I don't want to pick against them and then have them put together the game they're capable of.
Oh, I picked the Ticats. You don't need to tell me it.
Don't give it away. All right, so the podcast is picking riders there, but you've got Toronto. And then the last one, BC at Ottawa. Well, it's Ottawa, so
we have both picked Ottawa to win.
We have.
At what point in this season?
We have, and I've been embarrassed enough. And yes, BC has to go all the way across to Ottawa. It's not going to Montreal, so Ottawa's a little bit easier to do that with. There's not the St. Catharines distractions. I can't. This Ottawa team is just in free fall. I don't see them having a prayer. I'm going to go BC.
So the Ottawa defense will play them well, but that's about it.
Does MBT start?
Good question.
I haven't seen any reports about who's taking first team reps, and Dinwiddie, they said, was non-committal when asked about it after the game.
Tyree Adams I asked if Tyree Adams was still in BC or if he's
been released.
So
yeah. So is Jared Dagey.
Yes, Jared. Oh yes, our notable release we missed, Jared Dagey.
Yes.
You guys were talking about that, how Ryan hasn't won in that last game. That last game that he won, that was the game where Dagey was like to the Elks, like, you cut me, and like making the scissor things at them, like, you cut me, and now like what's
So is everybody else.
So has everyone, Dagey.
Yes. Apparently they released him and did bring in another ex-college U.S. quarterback. I didn't even catch the name. I stopped paying any attention when they said his college completion percentage was 60%.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Right. I mean, why not?
Yep. Now that's what you need.
I'm looking forward to another weekend of Horvath hurdling over people and punching in touchdowns.
Oh yeah, against that.
He's ahead of Tommy now.
Against that Ottawa defense is quite possible, yes. And is it a sweep? Did I ask about MJ2 on this already?
She said, I wish this wasn't so easy. Go Horvath.
Yes. Go Croatian in Hungary.
Oh, dear.
Well, I got to tell you said it gives you no joy to take Toronto. I have gotten a minimal amount of joyous moments from the CFL out over the last 2 or 3 weeks. And it's not just that the Riders have lost games. I understand why they've lost them. I'm not happy about it, but you can't play like that and have any hope of winning. But it's just the games haven't been good lately.
I feel like we're like in the mid-season slump.
Yes. We've got enough injured people, and I don't know. It's just, like we were, to me at least, and I have a very rose-colored glasses, so I could go back and look at the stats and find, I'm completely wrong on this. But the way I remember it, the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season, every game was coming down to the last 2 or 3 minutes. Everything was decided right at the very end, or at least teams were within one score at that point. You look at the games this weekend, and that Winnipeg Edmonton game was the only one that was within one score. Yeah. 14 points in BC, 19 points in Toronto, 30 points in Montreal. And as I said earlier, TSN starts treating us to the best catches of the CFL this season, or the best wild weather games, highlights from those just to keep people on the game.
Marshall Ferguson was like telling stories. Like I don't even think he knew there was a game on at some points in time. And Glenn's just like off on like, it was, And
we didn't even mention the fact that Toronto game was delayed by an hour because that's how bad the weather was. It was
awful.
The lightning is what finally delayed it, but the pregame it was about 5 minutes into the pregame that they announced the game start would be delayed, and the shots they were showing there, the Argos championship banners were literally horizontal. They were flying straight out in that wind. Oh, well, you
Yet
and me, we got
Hamilton
through this one on our own.
we did not field a running game, even though anyway.
Yeah. And with Trey in there, you should be able to use him to stretch the edges a bit. I'll give whoever's calling the plays in Hamilton the benefit of the doubt. It's hard to use a running game when almost every series starts 1st and 15, 1st and 20.
Yep, you can't.
Yep. I'm done. How about you?
That's it.
Got anything
That's
more?
It. No.
Okay.
I bashed on my team enough.
Sure. Give the folks any final thoughts you have. And
yeah, so sad news today that Dolly Parton passed away.
I didn't hear that.
Oh yeah. So, go read a book, go donate a book, donate to your public library, do something kind for someone else. Be like Dolly. Yeah, it's really sad. And you can find me Instagram running the show over there, and we'll see how I feel posting this weekend with these games over on Bluesky at Sports and Plants.
Yes. Well, and yeah, I mean, they were talking about Lorenzo Malden on the weekend and saying he's still in the race against Father Time, but it's a race you ultimately can't help but lose. And I know that's true, but that is still very depressing to hear about Dolly. She was
one of the best, right?
I have no idea what she was like as a person, but what I saw of her seemed very genuine and good, and the world is a lesser place without her. So, hate to end on that sad note, but there we go. Yeah, you can donate
to some books to some kids, and
yeah, exactly. And it means puts in perspective that who cares if a football game goes bad?
Yeah,
that's all that it is. So for me, you can find me as at the CFL Outsiders on just about any platform except Instagram, where it's MJ, or Facebook, which we just don't do. And other than that, let's hope for a better week of football. To tell you the truth, this looks to me like another weekend of probably not close football, or if it's close football, bad close football. My prediction for the week. So maybe I'm a little grumpy, but for a change this week, maybe I'll close by saying, for MJ, this is Oldman saying, until next week, get the hell off my lawn.